Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be bringing you my thoughts on all of the latest X-Men announcements because we've been getting a lot of announcements on the upcoming X-Men comics, the future of X-Men, and the Marvel Universe in general. With the wrap-up to the Hellfire Gala, there's new series starting and a whole bunch of other stuff. I know this isn't my usual format of a video. Usually I do like comic hauls, single issue reviews, breaking news, stuff like that. But there's just been so many announcements, I thought it'd be a good idea to put these all in one video, just talk about how they all connect, what this means for the future of the Marvel Universe, because there's been some pretty big stuff happening on Krakoa, on Mars, all over the Marvel Universe involving the X-Men. Like I said, the entire X-Men Hellfire Gala event just wrapped up. Over 12 issues, they made some huge announcements for the future of Krakoa. Usually only mutants are allowed on the actual island, but for this one night only so that they can make their announcements, try to increase their trade deals with different countries, and, you know, become more at peace with the humans. The mutants invited different ambassadors, different celebrities, and a lot of different people to Krakoa. And while a lot of different fans of comics scoffed at the Hellfire Gala, it was actually pretty important. There was some big stuff that happened, and they're making it seem like it's going to be an annual thing. But, like I've said in my Hellfire Gala reviews, I did a whole 5-episode series on all 5 weeks of the Hellfire Gala, so go ahead and check those out if you'd like to. During the Hellfire Gala, we got pretty much, in total, about 4 announcements that are going to be key to the future of the Marvel Universe, to the future of the X-Men. The first of which happened in X-Men issue number 21, in which they unveiled the brand new XMen team. I think by the time I'm actually going to be posting this video, it'll be like a month after I actually filmed it. So the first issue of this new X-Men team will already be out. But, like I was saying, they announced that Jonathan Hickman, who's the guy behind all of the X-Men for the last couple years at this point, ever since House of X and Powers of 10, when he revamped the whole X-Men franchise and created this idea of Krakoa and the mutants having this island of their own, no longer being hated and feared, but being like the richest country in the world. But his X-Men run was announced to have ended, and this was actually the last issue of it. And it's basically, you know, bringing in the new team of X-Men, and they're relaunching with a brand new issue number 1, which, like I said, will be out by the time this video comes out. It's going to be written by Duggan, though, with art by Larraz. They're some of the biggest names in comics right now. But on this team we have Rogue, who recently got married to Gambit. She, of course, is an original X-Men character, and one that I like a lot more than some other X-Men characters, so I was glad to see that she's on the team. Sunfire, originally he appeared in the Giant Size X-Men issue number 1 way back in, I think, the 80s, so he's a pretty old character also. And then X-23, who's just going by Wolverine right now. Wolverine, the main guy, also is. I don't know what the deal was with that. For a while she was going as Wolverine when Wolverine was dead, but he's been since resurrected. She had a stint as X-23 once again. I don't know, but Laura Kinney, she's a clone of Wolverine, but of course a female, and she's one of my favorite characters also. She's had some pretty great comics over the years. And then we have Cinch, who I honestly didn't know anything about before Jonathan Hickman's run, but he was one of those 3 mutants that went into that vault. And then they came out many years later, except in regular time it was only like a month or so. That was a pretty interesting storyline, so I guess I'm excited to see what they can do with that character and just reveal more about him. And then we have Polaris. So fresh off of XFactor, that was her whole series that she was part of, and XFactor focused around like the resurrection protocols on Krakoa. But since that series ended after its Hellfire Gala tie-in, now she's going to be able to go on the X-Men team. And this is kind of interesting because this is actually the character that we all voted for in real life. On the Marvel.com website a few months ago, they actually had an election for real people to vote for one of the X-Men members in comics, and I guess Polaris was the one that won that vote. And then we also have Cyclops and Jean Grey, who have been planning on creating a new X-Men team ever since 10 of Swords, but now they've agreed with Krakoa to make this be the official X-Men team of Krakoa. Some of these mutants I'm excited about, some not so much. We don't really have any mutants that are like super powerhouse and, you know, strong and powerful, but that's one of the big things that's coming out of this Hellfire Gala for the future of the X-Men is that X-Men relaunch series. We'll see what they can do with that. But then in the 3rd week of the Hellfire Gala, we had the Planet-Size X-Men issue number 1, and this one revealed probably the biggest announcement that we're getting out of this Hellfire Gala, but we got the huge announcement that Krakoa is basically transforming Mars, using a bunch of different mutants from Krakoa and its sister island, Araco. Were able to use their special powers in order to make Mars a livable environment. Magneto took a huge hunk of iron and put it into the core of the sun. They use some mutants from Morocco to create like an atmosphere, as well as like plants, bugs, a periodic table, everything that you actually need in a planet to make it livable for humans, or I guess in this case mutants. And because all of the mutants in Morocco, having come back to Earth and living close to Krakoa, they just had like a huge spike in population. The Earth can't accommodate these millions of Moroccan mutants who had just popped up on Earth out of nowhere. So, using the help of some Moroccan mutants, some Krakoan mutants, they took hold of Mars after the world had been trying to explore Mars for so long. Krakoa just stepped in and immediately like transformed the whole planet. And of course, the rest of the world was pretty outraged that Krakoa just claimed Mars as their own. But you know, I don't know how those rules work, especially in comics. About just claiming like a planet in space. But now Morocco and Krakoa has control over Mars, and they're calling it Planet Morocco. And this was a spectacular issue. I really recommend it for anybody who missed out on it, because the art was really amazing. It was just basically the whole issue just went through what actually led to them setting up this planet, all the steps they needed to take, and all these different mutants like sacrificing themselves at some points, and just using their powers to create basically a planet out of Mars where people can live. But then, as a direct follow-up to that, in I think the 4th week of the Hellfire Gala, we had Sword issue number 6, written by Al Ewing with art by Valerio Schiti. Then we saw the Sword team, who are in charge of the Sword space station, which is orbiting Earth. It's just controlled by Krakoa, but it's just a space station for interplanetary defense. They're having this meeting with an intergalactic council, including like the Super Skrull, bunch of weird alien races, as well as like Peter Quill, Nova, and Novar, representing the Kree and Skrull empires. And they struck a deal with the Intergalactic Council. Basically, the Sword team revealed this new metal called Mysterium. We see it on the cover here, but this Mysterium can only be produced by Krakoan mutants. They're able to use their powers to create this Mysterium, again, just like exploiting their powers and using it to kind of dominate the universe, because nobody else is a mutant. Nobody else can make this special stuff. Nobody else can make Mars a livable environment. So they're using their powers basically just to take control of things in certain ways. They're offering a few tons of this new metal to different spokespeople to give to their empires, but later they're going to have to be spending money for it. So now that Krakoa can produce this metal, they can kind of use this to form a new currency, just rewriting basically the whole galactic economy. And so this is a really big deal. Obviously it didn't go into full effect, but all of these intergalactic council members really wanted this metal to create new ships, new weapons, whatever they need. It's pretty much unbreakable. Dr. Doom came in at the end of this issue, and he was like, there's no way that there's not a leader of Morocco. He had just found out about how Mars had been taken over and Moroccan mutants were living on it. He was saying, you know, you guys are trying to take over the universe in your own little way without just blatantly saying it, by selling this metal, by taking over Mars without asking anyone. There's got to be somebody behind it. No country, no planet goes without a ruler. And then we see Storm come through a gateway, and she is the regent of Mars. She's the person at the capital of the entire universe. I forgot to mention, that's also another thing that Krakoa wants in exchange for this Mysterium metal, is to make planet Mars, aka Planet Morocco, the official capital of the entire universe. Of course, like I said, nobody has agreed to this. It's not like, snap, Storm is literally the ruler of the galaxy and everybody bows down to her. But she's the leader of Mars. Everybody has agreed to that. So over time, that should mean that she should play a bigger and bigger role in the Marvel Universe. And we've seen, based on the solicits for, I think, the issue after the next one of the Sword ongoing series, that the Sword series should be following her. This issue number 8 is supposed to be all about Storm and how it feels being at the center of the universe, how it feels ruling an entire planet. So I guess Storm will have to leave her role in the Marauder series and go on to a much bigger thing. I haven't actually been getting Sword ongoing, but after this spectacular issue and the upcoming ones, I'm just gonna have to keep on getting this, because there's some really big Marvel Universe stuff going on in this series right now. And then in the final week of the Hellfire Gala, we only had one issue, and it was XFactor issue number 10. I'll go over this more briefly because it wasn't as big of a deal, but it is leading into the future of the X-Men in a certain way. So XFactor, of course, it's its own series. It has to deal with the resurrection protocols, like I was saying. But at the very end of this issue, we saw that Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch, had been found dead on the floor of the Hellfire Gala as the night was closing. In the Sword issue that I was just talking about, at the very end of that, we saw Magneto, who's at the forefront of all of Krakoa. We saw him dancing with Wanda. She had come after the party was fully over with. She didn't want that many mutants to see her at the gala because, of course, she has a lot of history, bad history with them, when she wiped out millions of mutants, almost the whole mutant population, in the House of M event way back in like 2008 or something like that. But Magneto is dancing with her, saying that she's still his daughter. He would do anything to protect her. No matter what he's built up with Krakoa, nothing matters more than her to him. We knew that there was going to be a shocking murder at the end of this XFactor issue. It had been announced, which is kind of weird. Why would they announce that there was going to be a murder? I guess just to get more people to buy the issue. But I was not expecting it to be Wanda, because I thought she was going to be maybe like a big player in the Marvel Universe coming up. After WandaVision and after that tease in Sword issue number 6. But we also know most likely who killed her. In the final page of this issue, we see Wolverine inspecting the dead body with all of the other X-Men members in the background, saying, "Where's Magneto?" So I don't know, maybe Magneto murdered his own daughter. That wouldn't make any sense, especially after that last scene in Sword where he was saying he'd do anything to protect her. So my best guess is that maybe they formed some sort of plan where like Magneto pretends to kill her. Maybe it's not even actually her, maybe it's a clone, who knows, but it really does seem like Magneto and Scarlet Witch are going to be part of X-Men comics, maybe even a bigger part of the Marvel Universe coming up. Who knows, this could all culminate in a big event. But what we do know is that the next part of this particular thread, this story, is the Trial of Magneto. It's going to be a 5-issue miniseries, which I think is starting in August. And it's just gonna be, the Trial of Magneto, I guess, for murdering Wanda Maximoff. So this XFactor issue leads it right into it. I wouldn't recommend this issue, except for that last few pages that I just explained, with Scarlet Witch being found dead, because the rest of the issue is just like a regular issue of XFactor. On the covers that we've had solicited so far, we've seen Magneto battling the Avengers. It should be going on a pretty big scope. And that series is going to be written by Leah Williams. She also wrote this XFactor issue, so it should be a pretty direct follow-up to XFactor, but I don't think it's really going to be focusing around the XFactor series that much. It should just be focusing around maybe even the whole Marvel Universe, because it's looking like the Avengers are getting involved. Who knows what other heroes, what other villains even, who knows? So I'm really looking forward to see what they can do with Trial of Magneto. And like I was saying earlier, Jonathan Hickman's run on X-Men is ending, and he's not writing any other X-Men books right now. So there's no way this guy, who's the head of the entire X-Men franchise as a whole right now, since he started it all in House of X and Powers of 10, there's no way he's not writing anything. So that's the announcement that I'm ending this video on, is Inferno. We got this announcement a while back at this point, but it's going to be basically the culmination of his entire run on X-Men and House of X and Powers of 10. I'm not sure if it's just going to be like a chapter in this ongoing story with all these plot threads that he's left throughout his time writing different X-Men comics, or if it's actually going to be like his big finale. But like I said, it's just going to be 4 issues with a different artist on every single issue. Some of the top names in comics right now, like Valerio Schiti, R.B. Silva, some really good artists on every issue, and I think there's also going to be oversized issues for everyone. In House of X and Powers of 10, we saw this future in which Nimrod, who's basically this unbeatable, invincible robot who the Orca Station put together, overtakes mutant kind, murders a bunch of them, and isolates them, keeps them trapped. So that's a few steps down from where they are in Krakoa right now, at the very top of the world, and judging by that Sword issue and Planet-Size X-Men, maybe even at the top of the universe. But that could all come crashing down, and based on the description of Inferno, that sounds like what this is going to be. Krakoa put to its biggest test yet, and really just almost burnt to the ground. It looks like Moira McTaggart, who's one of the women behind the whole Krakoa as a whole, along with Magneto and Xavier when they started it all in House of X, is going to be trying to burn Krakoa down. So I don't know what her motives are, but I think it was X-Men issue number 20 when we saw her appearing for the first time in probably 1 or 2 years, because she's just been hiding away in her no place on Krakoa, this little isolated room that she has just for herself, because she didn't want to have that much to do with the actual island. I'm forgetting the reasons. It's been so long since House of X and Powers of 10 came out. That was back in 2019, I'm pretty sure. But it seems like some of the biggest plot threads from from Jonathan Hickman's whole X-Men run so far are going to be coming to a head in Inferno, and who knows what's going to come after that, because it's only 4 issues. But that's looking like a pretty exciting announcement too, and I've been liking everything Jonathan Hickman has been doing on X-Men. I can't wait to see what the next chapter of his whole run is. So those are the 4 announcements that I wanted to talk about. Like I said, it's kind of a different video than usual, but in recent issues of X-Men, mostly with the Hellfire Gala, these huge announcements have been happening, and a lot of these are important to the Marvel Universe, not just the X-Men, because I feel like so far with X-Men, it's just been contained within all of these X-Men comics. There's a big chunk of Marvel Comics are just these different X-Men series, but it's never like branched off into the rest of the Marvel Universe and really affected anything. But now we see Storm becoming the regent of Mars, and this Mysterium being distributed all along the galaxy. Let me know what you thought of all of these announcements down in the comments section below. I cannot wait to see how they follow up all of these different things, but it's a good time to be reading X-Men comics, because there's some really big stuff coming out in the next few months, and it seems like they're all coming out kind of at the same time, so I can't wait to dip into some of these upcoming issues of X-Men comics, especially Inferno, but I'm also kind of looking forward to reading the Sword series ongoing. So if you got some good information out of this video, or if you enjoyed it at all, make sure to hit that subscribe button. That's the big red button which is sitting right below this video. You can also hit the notifications bell which is sitting right next to it. You'll be notified every single time I post a new video if you don't want to miss any. So that's everything from me for today. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Bye guys.